National Editor at The Australian, Dennis Shanahan. Condolence motion kicked off the Parliament today for the late Senator Jim Molan. First question time of the year, of course, but all a bit overshadowed, Dennis, the shock resignation of the now former Green, Lidia Thorpe, who'll move to the crossbench. I've had a look at the numbers. The ALP and the Greens have got a constituted bloc now of 37 seats in the upper house, meaning the government's going to have to get the support of 2 votes, not 1 now, from the crossbench, in the absence, of course, of coalition support to get their bills through. So that's 2 votes from a mix, and it's an unholy alliance here. Thorpe, David Pocock, Palmer Senator Ralph Babbitt, Jackie Lambie, and of course a former staffer who's now a senator, or one of the 2 One Nation senators, Pauline Hanson or Malcolm Roberts. Probably a good day if you're Adam Bandt. He's got rid of Lidia Thorpe, but a tougher day for the PM because he's now inherited her.
Well, indeed. Look, Adam Bandt has always had his hands full as Greens leader with Senator Lidia Thorpe. She's run her own race. It has been pretty clear for quite some time that she wasn't going to accept what we expect the Greens' position to be in general, supporting the voice to Parliament. So this blow-up was always going to happen. The Greens were coming to the moment when they were going to decide what they were going to do. She decided what she was going to do and rejected Adam Bandt's suggestion that he would take on the portfolio of the voice to allow her to vote against it. In any case, what we now have is a representative of the Black Sovereign Movement in the Senate. She is a 6-year senator, and she's there on her own, no longer a Green, although she will vote with the Greens on issues such as climate change, etc. It does make the job harder for Anthony Albanese in the Senate, but also on trying to sell the voice.
All right, we'll get into the news poll in a moment, but you look ahead to tomorrow, an expected rate rise, quite significant one. So the experts are telling us that we know we've got the budget now 3 months away, and the Budget Committee, I'm sure, is meeting in Canberra, and they're carving and dicing all the numbers. A lot of pressure on homeowners, a lot of pressure on people on fixed incomes, older Australians. A lot of focus, we talk a lot about the culture stuff, and the voice is very important in all of that. But the thing that turns votes is how your household is faring. And I think this is where the rubber hits the road in the government's 2nd year on all of this, doesn't it?
Oh, there's no doubt about it that the cost of living is still the main game in town. The mortgage rates are expected to go up tomorrow. What we have are 800,000 people moving off fixed interest rates very soon, and they will jump from what was a fixed rate, a very low fixed rate, to an even higher variable rate by the end of tomorrow afternoon. So this is a real crisis for homeowners. The building industry is having enormous difficulty. 1 in 5, 20% at least, of new home loan contracts have failed in the last month because people cannot afford to keep the contract because of interest rate rises. The building industry is in strife. Homeowners are going to find it tougher. The price of 7.8% inflation, Jim Chalmers told Parliament today, yes, it's too high, it's unacceptably high, but it is at 7.8 and his own budget predicted it at 8%. So cost of living, inflation, not just in Australia but globally, continues to be the main story for all Australians.
And let me just underscore what Dennis, the point you made there about mortgage stress. The New South Wales Chief Justice Andrew Bell, a big speech to commence the legal year, made the point at a Law Institute event that the interest rate hikes, he says, will cause extreme mortgage stress, and that the courts are now bracing for a very significant home repossession spike, which is about as tough as it gets for homeowners. And of course, we all remember that back in 89-90 in that Keating recession, because this is the sort of, I guess, damage we saw right across our suburbs. Dennis, talk to me about the news poll today. The primary vote is strong for Labor, 38%. That's a good number for Labor. The Coalition be upset about that. They like to be in the 40s. They're down at 34. Both fell by 1 percentage point, so that kept the 2PP split 55-45 to the government in place. I don't think there'd be anyone unhappy in the Prime Minister's office with those sorts of numbers, even though he has had a fall on the preferred PM stakes. I think that's down 5 points, if I remember rightly. Is there any learnings or warnings here for Labor in these numbers, or do you think the cocky sort of sense we got out of them in question time is justified?
Well, I think they always have to be careful of hubris. And there are times in question time, as was the case today, where they look too cocky by far. And look, those numbers are fine. You know, they're on the two-party preferred. They have a 10-point lead over the coalition. And the parties are pretty well what you would expect. There's a bit of movement around the minor parties, the others, the Greens are down a little bit. None of it is really game-changing on the party basis. The biggest change in the news poll today, on the political poll, was the decline in Anthony Albanese's own satisfaction. He went down quite markedly, and as a result, there was also an increase or a narrowing of the margin on preferred Prime Minister between Peter Dutton and Anthony Albanese. Now, in themselves, they're not a great thing to worry about. But what you do have to remember, and I'm sure Anthony Albanese will remember this, was that Kevin Rudd won from opposition with a very high personal satisfaction rating. It started to decline in the new year after the election, and it continued to decline. And it wasn't for some time that people started to realise that the decline in satisfaction and preferred Prime Minister was actually starting to have an impact on the party. It was a lag indicator as far as the party was concerned. Look, I'm not suggesting that's going to happen for Anthony Albanese, but what we've seen is a fall from very high levels of satisfaction for the Prime Minister and a bit of an edging up on preferred Prime Minister for Peter Dutton. Early days, no problem from the party vote, but a little bit of a warning. Anthony Albanese, be careful how you behave, particularly in relation to the Voice and Indigenous affairs.